Alright guys, we're gonna keep going with that song. Folks said his family were all dead. Superman, he used himself to carry on. Forget Krypton. I don't think so. No forgetting Krypton. There's more to come. Never made any money saving the world from Sodom and Gomorrah. Sometimes I just feel the world will never see a man like you. Woo! King of the jungle and Lord of all the apes. Ooh, we're almost there. For once I told them you, Jane. Kind of reminds me of Lex and Superman's relationship. Join Tarzan in the forest. Okay, so we'll end there. I was only supposed to go a minute, and I like minute and 40. So I think I'm losing track. This is segment 14. I think this might be the last one for the first movie of the 2-part Smallville reunion movie. And I think I got that right. Tongue twister. Lex and his corn maze adventure. Arriving at the first corn maze, Lex's eyes lit up with excitement, and he looked forward to his first walk through one. I just thought it was funny. 10 seasons that Smallville ran. How corny is that it wasn't like some sort of traditional thing for farm kids? They had a town fair and they did all the dunk tank stuff. Everything was normal. I can see why Lex would miss it because he's like the rich kid that doesn't do all that stuff. But it was so perfect for the timing of Jonathan Kent's demise and everything that it just fell into my lap to just be such poetry. So there he is, getting it right for the first time for himself, for Lex. Of course, to keep things on the safe side, he voted for starting easy and going slowly and being careful to get it right. So he had made a list of the different sizes and degrees of difficulty of the corn mazes he intended to visit over the next couple of days. He looked at Glenn, told him to sit back and chill and have himself a picnic or something because he wouldn't be back for a while. Glenn was happy to oblige and waved Lex off. Lex went to the tourist base and inquired of a map and paid his entry fees. Lex says, "Hi, so this is my first time going on a corn maze adventure, and I'm just curious to know, how long on average does this size of maze take to get through? What are the closing hours? Or last entry, rather?" The farmer, the shopkeeper, says, "Well, this is one of the smaller ones. If you don't already know, it's meant to help people get practice in and get experience to give them the confidence they need to move on to larger ones. That being said, this one I have built has a reputation and record of keeping people on their toes and busy for at least an hour to an hour and a half on average. There have been people who, even with a map, don't fare well and find themselves in there longer than that. As for the last time of entry, it's generally the same time across the board, no matter what size of corn maze you're visiting. Last entry is around 7 p.m., when the sun is still up, and hopefully most people are out by the time we farmers go to bed. So from 9 to 9:30 p.m. we expect visitors to be leaving and off the property. By the time people get to the largest corn mazes, many are experts or have had a handful of time and experience to be able to get through in good time. To date, I've never had anyone get stuck in this corn maze I've built every year overnight as of yet. So he hasn't lost anybody overnight yet, but he's had people get lost in there beyond the traditional time that he's noted is the average to get through. Lex says, "Okay, thanks for the information. I will mind my P's and Q's on the time, and hopefully with the map I won't have any troubles myself getting through this one, as it is my first time doing this too. Remember, He's like, the city guy. He's not like any farm or camper kind of dude, right? This is Lex we're talking about. So the farmer and storekeeper says, based on how you're dressed and what you arrived here in, a limo, I kind of already figured this is a new thing and that you're kind of out of your league of sorts. But I'm certain you will have a great time in there, and I hope you're not allergic to farms and anything that lives on them. Wouldn't want you to break out in hives and get itchy, red eyes, runny nose, and sneezing. And Lex says, okay, yes, I admit I may come from the finer things in life money can buy, but that's not to say I grew up in a big, noisy, polluted city and have never seen the country. Farms or small towns before. I'll have you know that I live in Smallville and grew up in a farm community, and I own a lot of land, and that's one of the reasons I'm here. I had an accident. Some stranger driving through town burned my field down with her killer smoking, and I was looking at options on the internet as to what I could do with the land to bring it back to life and rescue it, and that is how I learned about the corn mazes. But I can't for the life of me figure out how I could grow up in a town not so far away from here and other corn mazes in the state of Kansas and the one next door and not have seen or heard of them and never get to experience them throughout life while growing up. So I'm kind of here just to make up for lost childhood experiences, as it were. And I did at least have the common sense to come to the smaller ones first instead of going straight for Benson Farms. I thought I'd better experience these corn mazes first hand for myself before deciding what to do with my land and make the best decision on who to hire to create a corn maze for me. Not sure if anyone can do a Luther Core corn maze with the new symbol my company now has, but I know it's certainly worth coming on a lone adventure for the next few days to see what exactly I can come to learn and figure out. The farmer and shopkeeper says, yes, this is a passage of right for growing up and living in farm communities. But if your life with money provided you a different life experience in these here parts, I can see and understand how you might have missed this experience growing up. But indeed, it is better late than never, and having heard of your plight with your unused and now burnt up farmland, I would say a corn maze is a worthy cause, an adventure. So I applaud you for your sense of adventure and willingness to take chances and risks and venture out into something a little left field from your territory. You may be more of a person than I first had the impression of upon arriving here in your finer clothes with your car and driver, and I hope you have a great time here at my farm and in my corn maze. Don't forget to take pictures and make videos on your corn maze research for the corn maze project ahead over in Smallville. He shook his head and continued with a Luther core, and then he's about the idea of the Luther core symbol. Well, now, if you did this sort of thing, people from all around these here parts might just come to think of you as a changed man, that he's not like his father, not following in your ancestors' money trap and lifestyle. Anyway, we better stop talking or you're going to lose the daylight you need to get yourself through your first adventure in one. Lex says, right, you are my friend. Right you are, he said as he looked at his smartwatch and checked the time. Thanks again for the map. And off he went. While walking away, the farmer and the shopkeeper remembered one more important detail that Lex was surely going to need, and so he piped up and said, oh, and by the way, Mr. Luther, there is no cell phone or internet service out here. Most specifically and especially when you are in the corn maze itself. So all you've got is your map and wits to get you through this adventure ahead of you. So I hope you gave your driver the right instructions, because you won't be hearing from each other or seeing one another until you've gotten yourself out of that maze of mine you're heading into. Hang on a second, I need to switch to the closing song. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. Okay. Lex waved an acknowledgement, a thank you, and by this time was now quite busy opening the map he had in his hands. As he found his way to the entrance and took his first few steps into it and disappeared from the sight of his car and driver and the farmer, Lex, looking at the map while walking further inside the corn maze, said, now just how hard can this first small corn maze be? Especially with the map I have in my hands and the daylight time I still have left ahead of me. So he still had like a couple hours, good hours, right? Because the sun doesn't go down to what, 11 o'clock in the summertime? Or that time of year, maybe 10, you know. On to the adventures ahead and how much he will wish he had never opened his mouth and spoken those words. To the adventures ahead and how much he will wish he had never opened his mouth and spoken those words. And the last part, because it's just this little segment I will share in this segment. It says, Mac Donahue. Grandpa calls Janet, checks in with his favorite granddaughter. Stay tuned. There's lots more of the journey to come in the telling of the rest of the story of the Smallville reunion movie. I don't know if that recorded or not, if it froze. So Mac Donahue calls his granddaughter, Janet, and checks in with his favorite granddaughter at the end. That is the last segment. The phone rings, she's picking it up, ding, 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 and Lex is off in the corn maze, and that's how the end of the first movie ends. And that's all everybody's going to get. I'm not sharing and nothing else. It's time for the money, the books, and the touring, and all the other stuff coming up. So I'm going to end now with the appropriate song for the ending of that first segment. Oh. Y'all ready, Fritz? Somebody save me. Because somebody in the story is going to be needing it. Some rescue. Or somebody's. Save me. Rescues. Peace out, everyone. Now TV Canada. I am just Jen, Superwoman, signing off. Subscribe, follow, tip, pledge, order, email me, whatever.